Mark Carney's Canada budget might be the big domestic headline this week, but there's another story, one that could reshape global power dynamics. Today, we're looking at a breaking development that's quietly setting off alarms in defense ministries from Washington to Moscow. Sweden and Ukraine have just signed a letter of intent, a move that could see up to 150 Gripen fighter jets headed to Kyiv. And here's the twist. Canada might not just be a spectator or a buyer this time. It could become a manufacturing site. That's right. If what's being discussed behind closed doors moves forward, we could be watching the rebirth of Canada's aerospace sovereignty and a direct boost to Ukraine's air power future. So, what does this all mean? For Ukraine's war effort, for Sweden's defense industrial strategy, and for North America's role in the 21st century air power race? Welcome to SkyJet Wings. I'm your host, Pierre Shields. Grab a coffee because today we're diving deep. By the way, someone in the comments of our last Gripen video said we should call it the FU-47, which, honestly, fair. But since it's a Canadian-made airplane now, maybe it should be the CF-47. All right, let's take a look at what's happening. On October 22, 2025, Sweden and Ukraine signed a formal letter of intent for Kyiv to acquire between 100 and 150 Gripen E fighters. Sweden's prime minister and Ukraine's president appeared together in Linköping, Sweden, the beating heart of the Gripen's production line. Now, let's break down the key facts. First, this is still a letter of intent, not a side purchase contract. But make no mistake, the political signal is massive. The projected first deliveries could begin within 3 years, starting with a smaller batch to train Ukrainian pilots and crews. If completed, this would mark the largest export deal in Gripen history. And it's not just jets. The package includes training, maintenance infrastructure, and, crucially, industrial cooperation. That last part is where Canada steps in. Because if Saab, the Swedish defense giant behind Gripen, partners with Canadian aerospace firms, it could mean production, parts, or even final assembly shifting to Canadian soil. And that's not just a defense deal. That's strategy. A signal that Canada, long sidelined in the fighter jet game, might finally be stepping back into the ring. Friends, make sure to like this video and subscribe to SkyJet Wings. So, why does this deal matter so much for Ukraine? Because the Gripen isn't just another fighter. It was built for contested skies, the kind Ukraine faces every single day. This jet can launch from rough airstrips, short highways, even damaged runways. It's fast, flexible, and its radar and mission systems rival anything in its class. In short, it's tailor-made for wartime Ukraine. It's not just a stopgap to replace old Soviet jets. It's a blueprint for a modern Ukrainian Air Force. What's unclear right now? Financing. Who pays? Sweden, Ukraine, or Western partners? And production. When, where, and how fast? How do these Gripens integrate with incoming F-16s? The deal is massive, but still very much in motion. For Saab, Sweden's defense giant, this isn't just about jets. It's about capacity. Their CEO admitted, if this 100-plus order goes through, production must double. That means new assembly lines, new partnerships, possibly in Ukraine and even Canada. Because here's the kicker. Saab's Canadian site already says, if the Gripen is selected for Canada, the jets will be built, maintained, and upgraded in Canada with Canadian partners. Think about that. A war-driven defense deal could revive Canada's aerospace industry, create jobs, exports, and real industrial leverage. For Saab, it's momentum. For Sweden, it's influence. For Ukraine, survival. And for Canada, maybe a return to the skies. Now, let's talk about Canada. Right now, Ottawa is reviewing its commitment to buy 88 F-35 Lightning Fs and quietly asking a bold question: is there a better option? Enter the Gripen. Saab CEO confirmed that talks with Canada are still ongoing about both the Gripen E and the two-seat Gripen F models. And unlike most foreign jet deals, this one comes with a promise: made in Canada. Saab has pledged to assemble Gripens inside Canada, partnering with firms like CEA, MP Aerospace, Bombardier, and others. So while no deal is signed yet, the industrial participation is already on paper and very real. But what would "built in Canada" actually mean? Final assembly here at home. Canadian integration of major systems, avionics, sensors, mission software. Local companies capturing supply chain contracts from engines to electronic warfare suites. In short, a shift from buying jets abroad to building and even exporting them ourselves. And why does that matter? Jobs, high-tech manufacturing, and most importantly, strategic independence. If Canada builds its own advanced aircraft, we rely less on American platforms and strengthen our own defense industrial base, something every serious nation needs in the 21st century. The challenge? Infrastructure. We'd need new hangars, training centers, logistics pipelines, and skilled pilots ready for a new generation of aircraft. But if Canada pulls it off, it wouldn't just buy air power, it would build it. Now, let's talk about the hard part: interoperability. If Canada ever chose the Gripen, making it work seamlessly with NORAD and U.S. defense systems wouldn't be easy. The Gripen speaks a slightly different digital language, and that means integration costs, coordination, and a lot of politics. Then there's money. Canada's already invested billions into the F-35 ecosystem. Training, infrastructure, logistics, the whole pipeline. Switching paths now would add serious overhead. The question is, does the Ukraine deal help Canada's case or stay completely separate? Nobody knows yet. But many in Ottawa are quietly hoping that a Gripen production push for Ukraine could open a door for Canada too. Because this isn't just about aircraft. It's about alliances and sovereignty. For Ukraine, 150 modern fighters would mean more than air defense. It's a statement that Kyiv isn't just fighting for survival, it's building its future air force. For Sweden and Europe, a deal this size would boost their defense industry's global weight and give Stockholm new leverage inside NATO and EU strategy. And for Canada, participating in Gripen production would change everything. It would diversify North America's supply chain, add a non-US aerospace pillar, and give Canada a complementary defense path, not just buying, but building. If Canadian factories build Gripens for Ukraine, it ties us directly into wartime supply chains, bringing opportunity, yes, but also exposure to global risk. So what should we watch next? Will Sweden and Ukraine turn that letter of intent into a full deal? First deliveries could happen within 3 years. Will assembly expand to Ukraine or even Canada? And finally, does Ottawa stick with the F-35 or take a leap toward a more independent aerospace future. Either way, one thing's clear. What started as a budget week headline might end up reshaping the map of Western air power. So the real question now, will Canada actually pick the Gripen over or even alongside the F-35? When would it happen, and with what kind of industrial offsets? How deep would the investment go? Would Canadian companies lock in major contracts for systems, parts, and integration? And strategically, how would Gripens fit into NATO operations, NORAD, and US-Canada command structures? Then there's the regional response. How would Russia react to hundreds of Gripens flying for Ukraine, some possibly built in Canada? And how would US allies view Canada producing a non-US fighter on North American soil? We'll be tracking every milestone, from contract signings to first deliveries to Canada's own procurement decisions, right here as the story unfolds. Let's be clear, this Ukraine Gripen story is huge. If it plays out as outlined, it could reshape Ukraine's Air Force, elevate Sweden's defense industry, and reignite Canada's aerospace ambitions, while shifting North America's strategic posture for decades. But for now, it's still in motion. A big deal, yes, but not a done deal. If Canada can turn this opportunity into build here, assemble here, export here, then it marks a real step toward becoming a strategic industrial power, not just a buyer. Otherwise, it risks becoming another ambitious defense dream that never quite takes flight. Thanks for watching this deep dive. If you found it useful, hit like, subscribe SkyJet Wings, and share it around. And tell me in the comments, which part of this story fascinates you most? Ukraine's modernization, Sweden's industry, or Canada's chance to build?